Welcome to the electronicshobbyblog.com. Today we're going to finish up our resistor substitution box. And this is what it's going to look like when we're all done. So we'll get started on that right now. So we're going to label the front panel. I've got some water slide decals, a sharp hobby knife, some Q-tips, some Solvaset, and I've cut the water slide decals up. I actually didn't have enough ones and zeros in the water slide decals I ordered. And so we're going to be using capital I's and capital O's. So we need to label 1, 10, 100, and so on. Now I've got the K's cut out. So I've cut all those pieces out, and I'm going to start laying them on. I've got a piece of, there's the one. I've got a piece of the decal strip that I'm going to use kind of as a guide to help me keep it nice and straight here, or at the same level. And we want to be far enough away that we don't end up covering them with our knobs. So there we go. This is going to be just like laying any other kind of decals. So there's the one. I'm going to get it aligned. And then once I've got it aligned, I'm going to take my Q-tip and use it to absorb some of the water. That'll help keep it in place. And then next one, we're going to do a 10. So let's lay that down at about the same height so we have a good handle on what we're doing. And for the 10, I'm going to need a 0 and a 1. So here's a 0. That's it there. Here's a 1. We'll set that in some water. Yep. We want to center these on the drill hole. Not the single digit, but the actual total, which is going to be 10. I'll have a little room to move it around when I'm done, but in the meantime, I want to make sure the decal film lays down nice and flat. When we're all done, we'll put a protective coat on this. All right, let's try our 100. That means we're going to center, or almost center, one of the zeros. I think right about there. This isn't going to be perfect, but it'll look pretty good once you get everything put together. You won't even notice any imperfections. You'll be so pleased with it. There you go. So this gets pretty tedious. I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so that is what it looks like. It was tough. It wasn't easy. I actually had to make a few new ones from the legs of N's and L's. Luckily, I didn't run out of zeros. So there we go. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to hit it with a clear coat. Okay, so here is the box with the faceplate. Now mine's a little scratched up. What I did find was that when I gave it a clear coat, the clear coat actually scratches easier than the box itself. So it's a little scratched up, but otherwise it looks pretty good. And I don't like the numbered knobs. They're here. I've got other uses for them, but they're a little too big for this, and I didn't want to use the big ones. Plus the numbers don't line up. So we're going to use these, which are just a very simple knob. It'll fit on like that. And I've got all the 0 positions set to straight down. And then 6 is straight up, and 9 is to the right. So it's fairly easy to tell exactly where you are. That's 3. So kind of like reading modified clock. So let's go ahead and finish wiring this up so we can put it back together and get it in the box. All right, so here is the back. And what we need to do is each of the center wires needs to go to this pin. And that should work fairly easy. We can go right in between the wires. But what we're going to need to do is pre-cut and strip the wires. And then we'll be able to wire it up. And then this wire here, and we'll have a similar one. The center one from here will come over to this binding post. So let's do the binding post first. So again, we want to keep these short to keep the resistance down. So we're going to have a lot of bits of wire left over, but we don't want to cut it too short because we don't want to have to add another wire on. And if I strip that, I should be able to wrap it around the binding post. Soldering iron's heating up. Good, let's get the solder. And the first wire will get soldered to the binding post. There we go. One on. Now this wire needs to come over to there, so I'm going to cut it about there. I'm doing this by eye. And I'm going to strip off a small amount. And I am going to tin these. It'll make them stiffer, but it'll also keep the strands from going haywire on me. And I'm going to make a little hook. And then I'm going to get that little hook. I'm trying to keep this in camera as best I can and keep my fat hands out of the way. There we go. Now, yes, I could have made that a little shorter, but I don't want to mess up. So and as I'm as I'm doing this, I'm also inspecting carefully. There we go. To make sure I don't have any shorts. So now this one goes to this one. So again, I'm going to cut it right about there. Strip it. Tin it. Loop it. There. Trying to be careful not to bend the hell out of all these resistors at the same time. And then this one will come around to here. Okay, so I've got it all wired up here. You can see on the back. And I'm just checking to make sure there's no shorts, that none of the resistors got bumped together, and looks good. We're going to test it as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put the knobs on. And like I said, I aligned them so that 0 would be down. And I just need to get my screwdriver in and tighten them up. Okay. All right, so next one. There we go. Next knob. There we go. Except for those few scratches, which I could probably clean up with another spritz of the clear coat, I'm pretty pleased. Let's go ahead and see how it looks in the case. This is pretty easy in that it slips in, and we're going to make sure that there's no interference. So we can see that it's pretty good. Sorry, there we go. There's plenty of space in there for heat dissipation, whatever else. Now we can put the end panels on. We got the screws. And the end panels, they have these little plastic bolts to hold them in place. There we go. Phillips screwdriver. All right, I'll finish putting the screws in. I got a couple of rubber feet for the bottom. So let's take a look at 100. 200. 300, so it's 0.2999K. It's 300. 400. 500. 600, all close enough. 700. 800. 900. So it's 0.899K, so that's 900. So back to 0. Let's try the 1 kiloohm scale. So 1 kiloohm, close enough. 2 kiloohms within tolerance. 3 kiloohms. 4K. 5. There we go. 6K. So it looks like it's all working. 7K. 8K. 9K. So let's dial up 600. So what's 555? All fives, right? So it's all fives. So pretty close. 55536. All right. Let's go away from the bench. We'll have a few final thoughts. So what would I change if I had to do this project again? Well, I probably wouldn't have given it the clear coat, or I would have let it dry a lot longer. I think part of the problem with the clear coat was I didn't let it dry hard enough. It's actually a lacquer coat, and so if I'd have given it a couple of days, that would have probably been better. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I would have liked to have the numbered knobs, but they just weren't lining up correctly. I'll save those and use them for something else. Other than that, we've got a wonderful resistor substitution box that's highly accurate, that's rated up to 3 watts, that we can now add to our lab. So all in all, I'm happy. I hope you are too. If you like this video, please give it a like and a share. And as always, I'd much appreciate it if you subscribe. Thank you.